Welcome, my beautiful souls, back to the podcast. This week, we are talking about the emotion of overwhelm. I think that we all have been feeling a lot of overwhelm in the past couple of years with everything that's been going on in the world. But overwhelm comes in a lot of different ways. It comes from our jobs, it comes from our children, it comes from our homes, our relationships. There are so many things that can make us feel overwhelmed. And at this phase of life for women, this midlife phase, the changes that are happening inside our brains actually make us more susceptible to feelings of anxiety and overwhelm. And they're unpleasant. It is unpleasant to feel anxious and overwhelmed. But there is an answer, and we are going to talk about it today. How you can pull yourself out of overwhelm if that's where you're what you're feeling, and how you can learn to stay out of overwhelm. So stay tuned. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that I am a soul purpose coach. I help women regulate their nervous system, uncovering limiting beliefs that are holding them back, get in touch with their intuition, and then figure out what it is they're meant to be doing at this particular stage in their life. What lights them up, what makes them feel like life is exciting and fun and playful, what puts them in flow, and what makes them want to get out of bed every day with a spring in their step. Okay, so we're going to start this episode with what is called an inquiry. An inquiry is when someone asks you a question, or you can even ask it of yourself, and then you just wait for the answer to arrive. You don't need to think. There's no real thinking that's required. It's just like something rising to the surface. So I ask the question, that's like dropping something into the water, and your answer comes as if that thing that I dropped was buoyant and it's rising to the top. So don't put any pressure on yourself. Don't try to analyze the question. Just if you can, close your eyes while I ask you these questions and see what answer comes up. So my first question is, how often do you feel overwhelmed? Just let the answer come. It could be a specific answer like every day, or it could be a vague answer like sometimes, right? Just let the answer be what it is. Second question, what does overwhelm feel like in your body? So can you think of a moment where you felt overwhelmed? Can you call it to mind? And then see what types of sensations you felt in your body. Third question, what things make you feel overwhelmed? Answers could be things like work, children, home, politics, or anything else. And then here's our last question. When you feel overwhelmed, what do you usually do? So maybe call to mind that vision of that you used to see how you felt in your body when you felt overwhelmed. What do you usually do? Because overwhelm is pretty uncomfortable. We don't really like to sit in overwhelm. So we usually have some sort of response to experiencing overwhelm. What is your response? People typically fall into one of two categories when they become overwhelmed. The first one aligns with the energy in yoga. There are three types of energy, and we get into trouble when we become unbalanced, when our energies become unbalanced. And the first type of energy, rajas, is an energy of activity, of movement, and of restlessness. And it corresponds beautifully with what some people do when they become overwhelmed, which is they want to do more, right? So they feverishly try to check everything off their to-do list. They start working long hours to finish the project at work. And they get all over their kids about finishing their college applications or writing their college essays. I'm using this as an example because I have a daughter who is applying to college right now. Right? They feel like they want to do. When it comes to money, maybe feeling overwhelmed about money. And so they're looking for ways to make more money, or they are repeatedly going over their bills or going over their bank accounts, scrutinizing each and every transaction. There's lots of ways, lots of areas of our lives where we can feel overwhelmed. And when we're in this Rajas energy, we are looking to do something about that overwhelm. We think that by performing an activity, by actually doing something in the physical world, it is going to relieve that sense of overwhelm. That is one category of individuals. The other category of individuals responds very differently, and they fall into the category of energy in yoga called tamas. And tamas energy is very heavy, it's inert, and it is dull. So that means when you become overwhelmed, it almost feels like the energy is drained out of you, the life force is drained out of you, and you feel like you can't look at it, right? I don't even want to look at this to-do list. I can't think about that project. I'm just going to ignore my finances because I am so overwhelmed that the way I'm going to deal with that feeling of overwhelm is not by doing, but by turning my back on it and ignoring it and pretending it's not there. And typically when this happens, we use something to distract ourselves. So we may scroll social media or watch some junk television or do some project that we just enjoy but doesn't really need to get done. We do something to pull us away from that feeling of overwhelm and from looking at what is making us feel overwhelmed. What we want to do is be in sattvic energy. That is the third type of energy in yoga. And sattvic energy has balance, clarity, harmony. It is that blend, that beautiful blend of being and doing, right? Because we are human beings, right? So we are beings, and part of the word being in human being is to be, right? That is really why we're here, is to be. But we tend to be more human doings, right? We tend to forget how to be and just do. But it's the beauty of being in this three-dimensional world is the balance of being and doing. So we don't want to fall into rajas where we can't be, we can only do. And we don't want to be in tamas where we are not really even being, we're just distracting, right? We're just opting out. We're opting out of being or doing. We're not doing either, right? We're just kind of opting out of life. We want to be sattvic. We want to be in this both being and doing space. So how do we achieve that? Now, I'm going to get into that in just a second, but I want to bring something else up here. If you've ever heard of Esther Hicks, she's a well-known spiritual teacher, and she uses a 22-point scale of emotions. And the scale runs from 1 to 22, with 1 being your very high vibration emotions like love, purpose, passion, gratitude, all the things that you would think of, feeling empowered. All those are your high level emotions, all the way down to that 22 end of the scale of fear and hate and very low vibration energies. And she says that depending on where you are on the scale, that is your level of allowing or resisting your connection to source, your connection to yourself, your connection to the life force energy that is in and around you. So we can either be allowing our connection or we can be resisting it. Well, overwhelm is number 11 on that 22-point scale. So if we are spending much of our life in overwhelm, then we are halfway down the scale, which means that we are in full on resistance to the stream of well being that we are, that exists in and around us, that comes from source. We are in resistance to feelings of love, compassion, joy, gratitude, peace, all the things that we want, right? That's how we want to feel. Empowerment, passion, all of that. We want to be feeling all those things. But when we are in overwhelm, we are actively resisting that because we are those things. That's what we are because we came from source and that is what source is. And because we are a little piece of source that came to this planet and became embodied in this three-dimensional body, we are a part of source. And that is what we are. We are love and light. I'll say this forever and ever and ever. We are love and light. That is what we are. But we have these emotions because we're human. And so those emotions can cover up our knowing that we are a part of source, that we are love and light, and that we can manifest both the internal states that we desire and the external things that we desire. And when you're in overwhelm, you are full on resisting those internal states of love and peace and joy and so forth, and in full on resistance to anything else you'd want to be manifesting in your life, whether it be more money, a partner, a better job, a home, whatever it is, a change in careers, you are in resistance to that. So it just makes sense that we want to step out of overwhelm. We want to step out of resisting our connection to source so that we can live a life that feels really good, so that we can do what we were meant to do here. We can live our purpose. We can be loving and open and compassionate. And so we're going to talk today about how we can step out of this, if that is the life that you desire. And I think most people would say it is the life that they desire. So think about yourself. So here we are, we're back to that inquiry. Now that you know, right, there's these two categories. When people get overwhelmed, they usually go one of two directions. They're feverishly working to control everything, to complete everything, or they're kind of tapping out and they are getting temporary relief from that sense of overwhelm by taking whatever it is they're overwhelmed about and pushing it outside of their field of awareness until it comes back, right? I think you can see the problem with both of these, right? If you're I'm going to answer every email and text message, I'm going to check every box on my to-do list, I'm going to work till midnight every night till that project's completed, you recognize, I think, at this stage of your life that what you are seeking by doing that is not actually the completion of the project. It's not actually the empty inbox. It is the state, the inner state that comes from that. What comes from that? What comes from that in that for a micro moment when you empty that inbox? If you're a person who does not like a full inbox, and I am raising my hand, I do not like a full inbox. Okay, I am that person who likes to clear my inbox. I am that person who writes a to-do list nearly every day and would love for that list to be completed at the end of my day. What am I seeking? What are you seeking if you're that person? You're seeking an internal state. You're not seeking an empty inbox. You're not seeking a piece of paper that has a line drawn through every item on the to-do list. You're seeking how that's going to make you feel. It's going to make you feel calm. It's going to make you feel peaceful. It's going to make you feel relaxed. It's going to make you feel organized. It's going to make you feel less stressed, right? This is what you're seeking by feverishly trying to accomplish all of these things. Here's the problem, as you may have noticed. It never ends, right? The second your inbox clears, another email comes in. The second you cross something off your to-do list, three more things need to get added on. The second you finish that project at work, your boss comes and hands you another major project to get done, right? Maybe even before you finish the first one, right? As a business owner, I can tell you that as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, it never ends. What I have to do to keep this business running never, ever ends. And it can feel, if I'm not careful, like I will never get out from under the number of tasks that need to be completed to keep this business running, right? Okay, so we understand what we're seeking. We're seeking a feeling. Let's turn that around to the tamas people, right? The people who want to tap out and ignore. What do they get when they tap out and ignore? Temporary relief, right? You get temporary relief from that state of overwhelm. And in our very convoluted minds, we think that that temporary relief is worth it until we're forced to look at what's overwhelming us again. And then we feel even more overwhelmed. We might feel guilty because we wasted time. We realized that while we were tapped out and doing something that probably didn't make us feel good anyway, like scrolling social media, we could have used that time to get some things done. And we just feel like the list is growing and growing, and we are really being crushed under the weight of that. And yet we don't know what to do, and because the discomfort keeps forcing us to tap out. And the cycle repeats for weeks or months or years or a lifetime. I know people that are in their 70s and this is still their reality. Because here's another wake up call. If you're not retired and you're still working and you think, oh, this is going to be so much better when I'm in retirement, because right now, of course, I have to go to work every day and I still have kids at home and I have a house and all these things. No, this is a mindset, because I know plenty of retired people who still feel overwhelmed by what they have to do. And they don't work anymore, and they don't have children at home anymore, and they don't have any of the responsibilities that they had when they were younger and they felt overwhelmed. And yet they still feel overwhelmed to this day because they are still deciding that peace only exists when. Okay? Peace only exists when, finish the sentence. When the world is completely peaceful and there's no trouble in our world. When everyone in my family is completely happy and healthy. When I never have another house problem, nothing ever breaks in my house, right? I am only happy when. I am only in full gratitude when. I am only experiencing joy when, okay? So that is called, in spirituality, that is a whole concept that we're going to get into, but I'm going to talk about it from the scientific perspective first. Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, he's a professor at Harvard, and he came up with something called the Arrival Fallacy. What is that? The Arrival Fallacy is a behavior pattern that Dr. Shahar noticed, that people think that when they arrive somewhere, they will finally feel fill in the blank. They will finally feel enough. They will finally feel peaceful. They will finally feel joy. They will finally feel like they belong, okay? You can fill in whatever emotion you want, but the emotion comes because they have arrived, okay? Arrived at this destination. But time after time, what his work showed was that they did feel good, whatever that good, quote unquote, emotion was when they arrived. So let's say it's when I check everything off my to-do list, I will feel peaceful, right? Yes, the person checked everything off their to-do list. They felt peaceful for like a millisecond, and then it vanished. And then all the overwhelm came back. And after doing this for a long enough period of time, after arriving at whatever destination you choose, finishing the project at work, everybody being healthy and happy in your family, your financial portfolio being what you want it to be. Yes, you feel happy, joyful, relieved, relaxed, what it is for a moment, and then it disappears because we look at the next thing, right? We go to the next thing that we're worried about, that we need to get done, that's bothering us. And so that sensation of peace and calm never stays. And we repeat this cycle over and over and over again. And after we repeat it for a long enough time without truly arriving at that internal state that we're desiring, we become burnt out. We become exhausted, disillusioned, complacent, and we start to question the meaning of it all. And I think in work, this is really, really big. I see this in work a lot, where people are in jobs and they feel very stressed about what's going on at their job, and they feel like they can't keep up. There's too much on their plate. They're overwhelmed. And they try very hard, and they care deeply. But after a certain amount of time of this, I can't really ever arrive, right? Or I only arrive for a moment and then I'm overwhelmed again. They start giving up, right? They start saying, I just don't care. I just can't put that much effort into it. They become people who show up to work not to give their best, not bringing that beautiful life force energy with them, but to do what they have to do, to not get fired and to get a paycheck and to get out the door in the evening. And they don't want to be those people. But the state of overwhelm is so uncomfortable. They want to avoid it so much that they've decided that they just have to be complacent, right? Or they just have to be disillusioned. And we do this in many areas of our lives, not just work. That's just one example. So how do we step off the merry-go-round? How do we get off of this round and round of seeking an outcome, seeking this arrival at a place, getting there for a moment, only to have it ripped out from underneath of us again and back into overwhelm we go? The answer is very, very simple. It's mindfulness. It is staying present in the moment. So I want to use an example from yoga, because you know that I love my yoga, to give you a very kind of concrete example. If you have ever gone to a yoga class or practice yoga in any way, you'll be familiar with what I'm about to say. In each class, we move from pose to pose, right? So you may get into downward dog, and then your yoga teacher or guide may ask you to move into warrior one. And for many of us, even on the mat, we have no memory of getting from downward dog to warrior one. We were in downward dog, now we're in warrior one. But what happened to the journey in between, right? What happened inside of our bodies, our breath, our mind, when we moved from downward dog to warrior one? Did we miss it? Did we miss the whole journey? Because in our mind, we just needed to get to warrior one. Teacher said to get to warrior one. I'm in warrior one. I have arrived, right? But what if we broke that down? What if we noticed every little detail that occurred between downward dog and warrior one? So let's think about that. We would have to raise one of our legs, right? I'll say the right side, because in yoga, we always start on the right, and teachers do that for one and only reason. I'm giving away a yoga teacher secret. It's the only way we can keep track of which side we did. So otherwise, it's a free-for-all. We can't figure out where we left off, and we'll have you guys doing the same side twice. So we start with the right side. So you have to raise your right leg up high, right? And then you have to bend your knee and bring it in between down the center of your body and in between your hands. And then you have to place that right foot onto the floor in between your hands. And then you have to adjust your back foot to a 45-degree angle. And then you have to start pressing firmly into the ground with your front foot so that you can support your body as you rise up to a standing position. And you have to use a lot of ab engagement to rise up. Then you have to allow your arms to float through the air and move up overhead. And then you have to let your shoulders relax down and back and turn your pinkies inward. You have to check in with your stance. Maybe it's too narrow. Maybe you don't feel steady and stable, and you need to adjust your stance. You need to check in with your hips to see if they're facing forward. You need to find a spot for your dristi. That's that place on the floor or the wall where you look through to keep you steady. Now, as I say that, can you envision that? Can you feel that in your body? Can you feel all of those things that needed to happen to get you from downward dog to warrior one? Now, if you were new to yoga and I said, okay, we're going to go from downward dog to warrior one, and you're going to need to do, and I listed all of those things, I have a feeling you might feel really overwhelmed. You might even opt out, be like, forget it. That's too much. That was just to move between from one pose to the next. Forget it, right? But we do all of that without even thinking about it. It becomes habitual. But what if we just thought about one of those things at a time? What if we were present with each and every one of those movements? My question to you, if you do practice asana, yoga asana, have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried being present for every single micro adjustment that needs to occur between one pose and the next? Because then the class becomes about the journey, not about the destination. And when you make the class about the journey, the class becomes so much more enjoyable. It becomes deeper. It is where we really tap into our body and that connection with our body. It's where downloads start happening. It's how we turn chaos into sequence, and sequence is manageable, right? So if I asked you to think about all the things that you would need to do inside of your body throughout an entire yoga class, that would feel like complete chaos. I mean, I as a yoga teacher would have a hard time thinking through that, right? But if I break it down from pose to pose to pose and everything that has to flow in between the two poses and just the next one and just the next one, then it becomes about the process, right? And we get to enjoy the journey. This is called this is called being present. It's called being fully present in the moment. If we have a continuous arrival or destination mindset, if we fixate only on the result of our actions, what are we saying? What are we saying to ourselves? We are subconsciously saying that we're unhappy with what is. That's what we're saying. We're unhappy with what is. And what does that do? That creates suffering, right? Because we are saying that the present moment is not enough. We have to get somewhere, right? But once we get there, we have to get somewhere else. And then once we get there, we have to get somewhere else, right? So we are forever caught in this cycle of saying that we're unhappy with where we are. And in order to be happy, we need to get somewhere else. So if you keep thinking, I'll be so much less stressed once this project is done at work, but there's so much more to do, right? That's maybe a thought you have, like, oh my God, I'll feel so much better when this project is done. But oh God, it's so overwhelming. Like, look at how much has to be done still before the project can get done. Here's what you're actually saying. You're saying this moment is not okay. You're saying, I am not okay. Here and now, right in this moment, I am not okay. And I need something outside of me to happen for me to be okay. And your nervous system receives that message and it sends signals of danger, right? So we start activating that sympathetic nervous system. You're not okay in this moment. You need something outside of you to be okay, which means you need to control that thing outside of you, because the only way you can be okay is if you control that thing outside of you, which of course we know we cannot do, right? Even though we try very hard. And then what do you start feeling? Anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted, fearful. Okay. And we're back on the merry-go-round, right? This is the loop. So how do we pattern interrupt? We recognize that where we are in that moment is okay, that we are okay, that yes, there's a lot to do, but you can take it one step at a time. You can be fully present to each step you're taking, and you can believe and know that whatever step you are currently taking, it is enough. It is enough. You can feel into the flow of the moment. A big one here, and I can't tell you how strongly I advise turning off distractions and committing to place your focus and your attention on just one thing at a time, right? So that's what being mindful means. It means paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. That's John Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness. Nowhere in there does it say multiple things, paying attention on purpose in the present moment to multiple things. No, one thing at a time. So if that means turning off the notifications on your phone, if it means asking your partner, your kid, your coworker to give you a few minutes before you can respond to them, if it means waiting some time before you answer a text message or an email, then that's what it means, because we cannot be mindful. Our brains were not designed to be mindful with more than one thing at a time. That's multitasking. And there is plenty of research, well-documented research, that we think we're multitasking. We are not. Our brains were not designed to do it. And all it does is bring us out of the present moment and give us these feelings that we don't desire, these feelings of feeling anxious and overwhelmed, right? So getting out of distraction, turning off distraction in any way you can, is going to significantly decrease your overwhelm. Be present in the moment. When we're in a constant state of, I'll rest when, or I just need to get through this and then, we are postponing peace. And you could spend a lifetime postponing peace. I'm telling you, I see it happen all the time. Yoga and mindfulness remind us there is no later moment when everything will finally be calm. Calm arises when we stop running from this present moment. When we anchor into the now, one breath, one task, one step, one point of awareness and focus. The nervous system starts to regulate, and this mountain, this thing that we feel is so insurmountable, stops feeling so impossible, because we're only climbing one step at a time, right? What is that famous quote? I should know who said it, but a journey of a thousand miles begins with one step. I might be misquoting that, but I'm sure you guys get the point, right? So if you had to take 1,000-mile journey and you thought about the entire journey, you'd completely fall apart, right? It would collapse under the weight of that. But if we think about it as just this step, and now just this step, and all we have to do is take just one more step, then chaos turns to order, right? At the heart of mindfulness is the truth that the present moment is all there ever was, is, or will be. It is all we actually have. Our past is gone. Our future may never come. right? This moment, right here, right now, this is what you have. And we are constantly ignoring it in favor of some desired outcome, right? Some desired outcome in the future. And when we do that, we miss the magic that exists in every moment. I promise you, when you start turning off those distractions and being present to this moment, and now this moment, and now this moment, you will see how much magic surrounds you. And you are decreasing. So it will help you rise up that 22-point scale, that Esther Hicks scale, right? And we will move out of overwhelm and up, 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 up towards gratitude, towards joy, towards fulfillment, right? And we're each rung of that ladder that we climb by being present in the moment without resistance, without judgment, right? We will achieve that internal state that we desire. And that internal state will impact our external world. Right? We suffer because we're craving things to be different than they are, and that pulls us out of the present moment. But the well-being, that stream of well-being that exists always, only exists in the present moment. We can't control the future. We certainly can't change the past. But we can be the witness to the present, and we can recognize its enoughness, the enoughness of what is. Thich Nhat Hanh said, the miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the earth. And what he meant when he said that was that you are fully present, right? You are walking here in this moment. You're not pulled into your past. You're not pulled into your future. You are just here. And there's a lot of attention now that's being paid to mindfulness. And I think that's amazing. I am so happy that the tides are turning, and that is what, is in the vernacular, the cultural vernacular at this time. But I think what a lot of people are preaching and teaching, and I understand why, because it chunks it down and makes it easier, is to be taking mindful moments, right? To take a moment to take some deep breaths or take a moment to look outside, whatever it is that those small tasks that you can do mindfully. And I think that's amazing. And I think it's absolutely a step in the right direction. But I have a question for you. What if every moment was mindful? What if being mindful was just a way of living? What if everything we did, from brushing our teeth to cooking dinner to having conversations to doing our work to parenting to paying our bills to driving, was an act of mindfulness? What if we set the intention not to get it done, but to be present for the journey, not to go from downward dog to warrior one, but to enjoy the entire movement and the arrival? You can enjoy the arrival too, as long as you enjoy the entire process, right? What if getting the bills paid wasn't about just paying the bills, right? Getting it done. I performed the task, paid the bills. What if you actually enjoyed the process of paying the bills? I know, crazy. I know, I'm really, really pushing you here. What about doing the dishes, right? After dinner? What if it wasn't about just having a clean sink and being done, having the kitchen cleaned up, right? Because as soon as and I swear this is my house, as soon as that sink is empty, there is another plate, dish, cup, whatever, that is placed into the sink, right? And then it's not done, right? We went from a done task to a not done task. But what if you just enjoyed the process? What if you enjoyed the smell of the soap or the warm water running over your hands or the conversation you had with the person in the kitchen with you while you were doing the dishes? Or maybe you're lucky enough to have a window over your sink and you can look out and see something beautiful. Put a bird feeder that back there, right? Help yourself with this, with making these tasks, things that you can be mindful. Maybe you enjoyed listening to some music while you did the dishes or a great podcast. Hello. So just looking for ways to help yourself to be mindful during the process. But the first part requires the awareness, right? I have the awareness that in my mind, I just want to get this done. I just want to finish it. or I just want to avoid it, right? I have the awareness. I'm either looking to be rajas, be super active and aggressive and do, or I have tamas and I just want to actually, if we're talking about dishes, I'm going to leave the kitchen a mess and go upstairs and watch reality TV and then have to deal with it in the morning, right? We have the awareness. Where are we on that energy scale, right? Do we have all this rajas? Do we have all this tamas? How can I be sattvic? How can I have that balanced, clear energy? It's to become present with the moment and accept the moment exactly as it is and actually enjoy and be grateful for it. Driving is another great example. How often do we get in our car and we are rushing? We're rushing to get to work on time. We're rushing to get our kid to an activity on time. We're rushing to get to a doctor's appointment. Or we're just rushing to get home because we just want to be home, right? And we miss the entire experience of the drive. There's so much beauty in that. And if we're rushing to get somewhere on time and we are not present with the moment because we're only thinking about arriving at this place and we'll feel so much better. Oh, we'll feel so much less stressed when we arrived. How terrible is that drive, right? How awful is the experience of that drive? Every other driver is driving too slow. There's inevitably an accident on the road. You hit every red light, right? That's the experience of the drive because you are in resistance, because you're number 11 on the scale, because you are in resistance to your well-being, that stream of well-being. You are in resistance to what you desire, right? In the external world, you are blocking the flow. And when you can release all that and allow yourself to step into the stream, allow yourself to be grateful for the present moment as it is, you will see how much this will change both your state of overwhelm and how you experience life. Practicing presence is a spiritual practice. Yoga philosophy, like mindfulness, teaches us that the present moment is the only real thing. The past and future only exist in the mind. So when we chase a destination, we miss the only place joy can actually be experienced, which is the here and now, right? One of yoga's foundational texts are the Bhagavad Gita. And there's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita that says, "You have the right to your actions, but not the fruits of your actions." So what does this mean? This means we're encouraged to give our full heart, our full presence, all of our integrity to what we do, but not attach our happiness to the results. Right? This all comes in this arrival fallacy, right? This is coming from a different angle. So the arrival fallacy is the scientific explanation of what I'm talking about. This is the spiritual explanation, right? When we attach our happiness to the outcome of our actions, we will inevitably be disappointed and suffer, right? But when we perform our actions in devotion to the present moment, then the process itself becomes meaningful. And then this requires something called Ishvara Pranihana, which means surrender, right? We have to surrender and trust, have faith that the outcome will be cared for, right? That source will care for the outcome. The outcome may not look as you thought it would look. It may not come about in the way you thought it would come about, right? Things may be different than what you had in your mind. But when we surrender, when we practice Ishvara Pranihana, we are surrendering. We are doing our part. We are performing our action without attachment to the outcome. And we are enjoying the entire process, knowing that that outcome will be cared for. Patanjali is also well known in spiritual yogic philosophy. And one of his sutras, 1.14, reminds us of the practice of devotion, long-term devotion without interruption. What does this mean? This means that mindfulness is a practice of devotion, right? We are devoting our awareness, our consciousness to the present moment. And if we do this over a long period of time, and I don't mean in one day where you try to be like present all day for an entire day, right? That's impossible. Maybe for some really highly enlightened person out there. Um, but what I'm talking about is every day we set the intention to be present, right? That's the intention that we set every day. And then we practice. We practice doing it while we're driving, while we're doing the dishes, while we're paying the bills, while we're doing our work, right? And we're going to find the mind has wandered. I slipped back into overwhelm. I, you know, I'm worrying about how this future outcome or is going to occur, or I'm feeling like I can only be feeling X once this thing is achieved, right? We just become aware, right? Oh, I'm there again. I'm out of the present moment. I'm attaching my happiness, my joy, my peace to the outcome of my actions. I'm not surrendering. I'm not trusting that there is something greater that's loving and intelligent and guiding, right? Okay, no shame, no blame, right? Just awareness. I'm going to come back to the present moment. I'm going to decrease my resistance. I'm going to move up the ladder of those emotions. And if we consistently practice, we do not aim for perfection, we just consistently practice, that's how we grow. That's how we grow. We grow by showing up again and again and again and again. The transformation happens in the practice, not in arriving somewhere. And if you do practice yoga, you may notice this, right? This is another great thing about asana, about the physical practices of yoga. We call yoga a practice, right? And every day that we step on our mat, we know it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same as it was yesterday. If you've ever taken 2 classes in a day, you might notice that your morning class and your evening class was not the same, right? Because we're never the same. And it's not a linear path, right? If I was a chemistry major in college, and then a nurse after that, I went back to school to become a nurse. So lots of science training. So I look at it like a graph in my mind, right? An X and Y graph. And we want this practice. We think that the practice is going to be a straight line up to the right, right? We start at 0, we go to 100, and it's just this straight line up to the right. But that's not how it works. You will have highs and lows, and you'll be up and you'll be down. But over time, yes, over time, that line will trend up and to the right. Over time, you will notice you start falling into presence more easily. You start enjoying the process more easily. All of a sudden, you're driving home from work, and yeah, you want to get home. And yeah, the traffic's not so great, but you're really loving the song that you're listening to, or there's a beautiful tree that you pass by, or you decide to let someone into the traffic just to be kind, and you enjoy the feeling of that, right? You start noticing that, oh, wow, I used to be so tight and tense and stressed because I just wanted to get home. And now it's the same drive in the same traffic, and you're the same person, but the experience is totally different because it's not about arriving. It's not about arriving to be okay. You are okay in this moment. Everything is enough. Everything is perfect. Right? Each moment can be a prayer if we meet it with awareness. That's how we shift from I'm overwhelmed by everything to I'm present with this one thing. I am letting everything else fall away, and I'm just choosing to be present with this one thing. And I will tell you also that when you start learning how to do this, it feels like you enter a time warp because your presence and the energy that comes with that presence will allow you to move so much faster. Ideas will come faster. You will complete tasks faster. You will complete them with a lot less resistance, like it'll be smoother. It really is a fascinating experience when you start paying attention to how your experience of doing a task changes. Same task, same person, right? But how the experience of it changes and the experience of time changes when you start becoming present. The journey just becomes so much lighter when we allow each step to matter on its own, each individual step to matter. Okay. Now, I want to take you into a feeling of presence. So, we're going to do a little exercise. We're going to do a little breath work exercise. Because if you haven't been present for a long time, you really haven't been living in the present moment, you might not even recognize what presence feels like. So we are going to do that. If you are, I am going to invite you to close your eyes. This is a breathwork exercise. It requires you to be not distracted, right? So if you're driving a car, you're washing dishes, or you're walking outside, or you're at work, wherever you are, if you can't be present for this part of the podcast, then I invite you to just pause and come back to it when you can be present. But if you're doing something, you're somewhere, you're doing something, and you can step away just for a moment, we're going to practice presence together so that you can see what it feels like. If you have had a burning question about something and you would like coaching on that question, then sign up for my Insight Seed Dharma Dialogues coaching sessions. These are sessions where you and I will tackle one burning question you've had about getting in touch with your intuition, about calming your nervous system, about getting rid of a limiting belief, or about finding your purpose. And that conversation will be aired on the show so that it can benefit other people who are struggling with the same questions and issues. So sign up using the link in my show notes. It's really fun. I can keep it completely confidential if that's your wish, and you can get your questions answered. Okay, if you have found a comfortable place to sit or lie down, we're going to begin the practice. We're calling this practice resting in the breath. I invite you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, expanding the lungs on the inhale and letting the breath just fall out on the exhale. Now allowing your breath to be normal. Just becoming aware of your breath. Just observing it. Observing it flowing in and flowing out. In and out. Its own speed and rhythm, whatever feels comfortable and natural to you. Aware of your chest gently rising and falling. If it helps, you can silently repeat, I am breathing in on the inhale, and I am breathing out on the exhale. Or just continue to observe silently. If your attention drifts away to thoughts or noises, just simply return it to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Not looking for a particular experience, not waiting for anything to happen. Innocently observing the breath. Allowing your body to expand and relax. Allowing your mind to become quiet. Let's continue like this. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just breathing in, breathing out. I will call you back when it's time. Still with eyes closed, stop observing your breath. Begin feeling your body, feeling the weight, feeling any of the places your body is making contact with a chair, the floor, or any other surface. Beginning to make small movements with the body, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe rolling out the neck a little bit. And when you feel ready, opening your eyes. How do you feel? Do you feel present? Do you feel less overwhelmed? Do you feel peaceful, joyful, grateful? This is possible all the time. Every moment has the opportunity to be a meditation if we're present. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I hope that next time you become aware you've entered overwhelm, that you remember you can come back to presence. You can step out of overwhelm simply by coming back to the present moment, doing one thing at a time without distraction, and surrendering the outcome. I love you all so much, my friends. I love to hear from you as always. So please send me an email or get in touch with me on social media. I'd love to hear what you think about this episode. Okay, I also wanted to let you know something I am doing for the month of November because I think it's just going to be really fun. That's why I'm doing it. Um, Esther Hicks in this 22-point scale that I mentioned earlier in the episode, appreciation, there are multiple emotions that fall into the number one category, but appreciation is one of those emotions. And when we are in the number one, when we're in those emotions that land in that number one slot, we are in zero resistance. So that means we are in full receptivity to the well-being that exists at all times. We are in full connection to source, and we have the ability to manifest our desires from that place. Plus, it just feels really good, right? And this is what I always come back to, all these lessons I teach you guys, all this ancient wisdom, all the things. But ultimately, it just feels amazing. So why not, right? And when we feel amazing, guess what happens? We do amazing things for other people because we feel so amazing. We can't hold it. We can't contain all this amazing energy. And so it spills out onto other people. And how amazing is that? So I would like to spread this vibration of appreciation and gratitude. So I am going to be posting something every day that I am grateful for the month of November. What I would love for you guys to do is to send me your pictures of things that you are grateful for. You can send me one, you can send me 30. I don't care how many you send me. I would love at the end of the month to compile everyone's pictures and make a huge montage. And this can be anything. I mean, I am talking about anything you are grateful for. So it could be a picture of your house, right? That's a really big one of your kids. That's huge, right? Or it can be that you got something in the mail you were really excited about, or you had a great cup of coffee or running water, right? Or your bed. I'm super grateful for my bed. I really love my bed. It's super comfortable, right? It can be anything. And every year with my kids, we do this where we write down things we're grateful for every day for the month of November. And what happens is in the beginning of the month, you're naming all those things that are so obvious, right? Your home, your job, your kids, your partner, right? Okay, all the things that are obvious. And we do multiple. We don't just do one per day. So we usually do like 3 to 5 per day. So by mid-month, we're kind of like getting down to the nitty-gritty. We have to get into the minutia of life, of the things that we just look past all the time. We forget to be grateful for, right? And it really forces us to really focus in on that and focus in on just the countless, endless things that we take for granted that we should be grateful for every day. It's a really great exercise. It's so fun. And if we could do this on a large scale, I would love it. I think that it would change the vibration of the planet, right? And it would certainly change your personal vibration. So send me your pictures. You can send them to me through Voxer. I am on Voxer. It's just Katie Farinas, as always. You can send them to my email, katie@katiefarinas.com, or really any other way that you can think of that I would be able to download them. I'm also on WhatsApp. That's another way I know that you can download pictures. So whatever way you want to get me your picture or pictures of things that you are grateful for, I would be so grateful if you would send them to me. All right, guys, have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next time.